All right. And the last question I have for you right here is, are you working on this game mission-based first and then creating the story around the levels, or did you develop the story and incorporate levels into the layout? Well, I guess that's kind of already been answered with prior questions, I guess.
Well, we did work on the general storyline idea first, and then we start to go into further details as we start working the mission. Pretty much the story determines the location, but then each mission gets a script once we start working on it. We're willing to change smaller parts of the story to make the missions more fun if we have to. For example, in the second mission, you're flying through the ice corridor seen in the latest trailer, and you had to do two things: avoid colliding with the sides and the ground, and shoot the enemies ahead of you. But for the new element to make sense, we had to alter the scripts a little bit.
Mm.
Okay. All right, just a few more questions here. First, I'd heard a little bit about your days as a sound effect worker on the project. Do you care to tell us about the time you worked on the ice landscape sound effects?
Well, this is a we had a guy that was supposed to do our sound effects for a while, and then he kind of disappeared. And we were creating this new ice level, which you saw in the trailer. And well, we wanted this to have a sound that kind of sounded like you're kind of in a glacial area that was kind of starting to melt. And so we wanted to have all this ice cracking and things like that. And we kind of needed to sound pretty quick for a mock-up we were doing. And so DeBrain asked me to come up with some ice ambient sounds for it. And well, not having access to commercial sound effects libraries are quite expensive. I decided that I was going to go on a mission myself of creating this sound. Well, I live in Texas, and so finding large amounts of ice in Texas is not easy.
I can imagine.
Oh
So
yeah.
I had done all kinds of things like get a bowl full of ice out of the freezer and try to pour hot water into it and see if that would create the right kind of cracking. But it still didn't create the right kind of sound. And then I got this genius idea. I filled up a pot full of water and I put it in the freezer. And after after it froze, I got a little bit of warm water and I poured it on top of it. And then I set up a microphone sitting right on top of it. And I grabbed a screwdriver and I just started stabbing this ice and pressing into it, trying to create these cracking sounds. And what happened was this piece of ice broke and a chunk of it bounced up and hit the microphone, knocked it over. It almost went into the bowl of ice water. Yeah, it was quite an adventure. And the hardest part of it was actually getting the sound that was looking for, because I come up with all of these different things, and the answer was always, it doesn't sound exactly like what we need. And so it was just pretty much trial and error, mostly error, and it almost cost me a mic.
Did you get any interesting, colorful comments from people walking in the room as you stabbed
I
ice
was
with?
I was alone at the time, so no.
Fortunately.
Eventually, I did get something that I was able to actually run through some of my effects processors and get to sound more like what they wanted, and so that eventually got done. But it was quite an adventure getting there.
Awesome.
Do you think there'd be like a library somewhere with all these different types of sound effects that you could edit to your liking, and it wouldn't be much of a problem for people living out in Texas?
They are out there. The
They're
thing
just
is, though,
expensive.
they are the cheapest ones start at around $500, and then they go up from there. So it's
Oh,
not cheap.
$500? That seems a bit much. Not
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
Photoshop costs that much.
They're designed for people who are in the industry, and so that's what the market will bear for those products. So that's
Oh,
what they're
yeah.
charging. I mean, even the sample libraries I've used, that East West Gold Pro XP library that I use, that was a
Mhm.
$500 library. So
Ah.
things do get So I've spent more on software than I have on hardware. That's where they ding you.
Yeah.
And like some of if you look at the Vienna Symphonic Library orchestral samples, some of those cost like $10,000 easily.
Oh crap!
Yeah. Um, okay, well, this is going to be the last question here. Many people are wondering what positions are open at this time in working with yourself and the Shadows of Lilac crew. Could you shed some light on what positions you guys need right now?
Okay, we're actually looking for 3 people. We're looking for, of course, a sound engineer, and
Who doesn't?
we're looking for a coder to help us code some things into the engine. We're also looking for a coder that is experienced in OpenGL. So we're looking for 2 coders and a sound engineer.
Awesome. And you can apply for that or talk to them by going to www.shadowslilat.net as well as game-warden.com/forum and going to Shadows of Lilat. We'll have the links over to the right for you all. And before we go, we have a few last things. First of all, there's been a lot of comments about these guys getting a cease and desist. There's been articles on Kotaku, on Escapist Magazine, some other places. And we kind of wanted to get a kind of public saying out there from one of the people working on the team right now. DZ, can you tell them that you are aware of this and don't need to be questioned about it anymore?
Right, yeah. We definitely know that there is a chance that we could get a nasty gram. As far as what we can do about it, I mean, we're going to try our best to distance ourselves from Nintendo. As I said at the beginning of this interview, we're not affiliated with Nintendo, and we're trying to make that as clear as possible. And we're also trying to do things in a way that makes it as obvious as we can that we're paying homage to Nintendo, that we're not trying to steal their thunder. We just simply like Star Fox, and we decided we wanted to put it into free space too. That's what we're about. And so I know that there are some concerns for C&D out there. We could get one. If we do get one, I'm not really sure what the process is going to be at this point. Although if we do get one, I wouldn't say hopes would be very high, but we are aware that that possibility is out there, and we're taking what steps we can take to minimize it.
Yeah. So, all people listening to this, please, do not ask me, do not ask any of the crew if they're going to get a C&D. Do not go to Game Warden forums and ask, because you'll be shot down.
Yeah.
So, that said,
We'll stick Sabata on you.
We try.
I swear.
You will. Sabata will come after you, no matter how much he's been hacked.
He'll live
As
with the hack.
nice as possible, please. Stop bothering them about it, and honestly, stop asking them when the game's going to come out, because as it's been said before, it's practically a famous quote at this point in time. It'll be out when it's out.
Exactly.
And that in mind, we have been given permission to air an exclusive of the menu music that DZ has been working on for this game. So he hasn't released this out yet. It hasn't been on the forums. So you heard it here first. It will be playing for the credits. I'm Andrew McLeod. Everyone else here, Chelsea, Basil,
See y'all later.
and DZ.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yay.
We'll see you in a few weeks. Later.
Thank you and good night.